I skipped my own birthday celebration, saving every penny for weeks to surprise her with the phone she wanted. But when I placed it in her hands, she said another man had already called her his own. I'm writing this at 3 a.m. because I can't sleep anymore. Haven't been able to for 3 months now. My name is Jake, and I destroyed the best thing that ever happened to me, because I thought I deserved better. The irony isn't lost on me. I'm about to tell how I ruined my over a phone. A overpriced piece of technology that I convinced would prove my love. Sarah had been dropping hints for months about this new iPhone. She'd pause at the display cases in stores, scroll through reviews on her cracked Android, joke about how her photos looked like they were taken through fog. We'd been together 3 years, living together for 1, and I knew money was tight for her. Grad school doesn't pay well. My 28th birthday was coming in October. My friends had planned this whole weekend thing, camping, drinks, the works. I'd been looking forward to it for weeks. But then Sarah mentioned the phone again, and I saw how her face lit when she talked about the camera. How she could finally take decent pictures for her art portfolio. That's when I made the decision that would haunt me forever. I canceled my birthday weekend. Told my friends I was sick. Picked extra shifts at the warehouse. Worked doubles until my back screamed. Skipped lunches, walked instead of taking the bus, ate ramen for weeks. Every dollar went into a jar in my closet. 8 weeks of this. 8 weeks of watching Sarah worry about why I seemed distant, why I was always tired, why I snapped at her when she suggested we order pizza instead of cooking. She thought I was losing interest. I wasn't. I was falling deeper in love, or so I told. This grand gesture would show her everything. How much I cared. How I'd sacrifice for her. How I was the kind of man who'd give his own celebration for her happiness. November 15th. I remember the date because it's burned into my brain like a scar. I walked into the Apple store with frozen $200 in cash. Crumpled 20s and 10s from weeks of overtime. The sales guy looked at me like I was insane, counting out bills like some kind of, but I didn't care. I was going to see that smile. That pure, shocked joy when she realized what I'd done. I planned it perfectly. Her favorite restaurant, the little Italian place where we had our first real date. I made reservations, bought her flowers, even got my one good shirt dry cleaned. The phone was wrapped in silver paper in my jacket pocket, heavy with promise. She seemed nervous during dinner, kept checking her old phone, apologizing, saying work was crazy. I didn't mind. I was too excited, too proud of. This was it. This was the moment that would define us. I have something for her, I said as dessert arrived. Her eyes went wide. For a second, I thought she might cry from happiness. This was perfect. This was love. I pulled out the box, set it in front of her with shaking hands. I know I've been wanting this. I saved for months. Worked extra shifts. I even canceled my birthday weekend to make sure I could afford it. Sarah stared at the box like it might. Jake. She whispered. Open it, I said, grinning like an, come on, I can't wait to see face. Too slowly. When she saw the iPhone logo, her face crumpled in a way I'd never seen before. Not joy. Not surprise. Devastation. Jake, I can't accept this. What? Why not? I know it's expensive but I wanted to. I'm seeing someone else. The words hit me like physical blows. The restaurant noise faded to white static. The phone sat between us like evidence of my stupidity. What do you mean? I asked, though my body already knew. The distance. The phone checking. The way she'd been pulling away. His name is Marcus. We met in my ceramics class 2 months ago. I didn't plan for this to happen, but... She was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. Jake, I'm so sorry. I should have told sooner. I should have ended things before. Before what? She couldn't look at me. Before I fell in love with him. The phone might as well have been a brick. All those hours. All that money. My birthday weekend with friends I'd blown off, who probably thought I was flaking on them for no reason. How long? I managed to ask. 3 weeks ago. But Jake, the feelings, they started before that. I tried to them, I swear I did, but 3 weeks. I stared at her. I've been for 2 months to buy this phone, and have been with someone else for 3 weeks. Other diners were starting to notice. Sarah reached for my hand, but I pulled back like she was. Keep it, I said standing. Give it to Marcus. Maybe he can afford the monthly plan. I walked out of that restaurant and didn't stop walking for 2 hours. When I finally came home, Sarah's stuff was already gone. She'd moved fast. Efficient. Like she'd been planning this for weeks. There was a note on the kitchen counter. I'm staying at Marcus's place. I'll come back for the rest of my things when we're at work. I'm sorry it happened this way. Deserve better than this. Set deserve better. The words I'd been telling for months, justifying why I deserved her gratitude, her love, her loyalty. Now they felt like mockery. I found out later that Marcus had been buying her coffee after class, walking her to her car, listening to her talk about her art in ways I never bothered to. While I was working double shifts to buy her love, he was actually connecting with her soul. The worst part. I could have prevented all of this. If I'd just paid attention. If I'd asked her about her day instead of planning grand gestures. If I'd noticed she was pulling away instead of assuming she'd be grateful for my sacrifice. But I was so sure I knew what love looked like. I thought it was about giving things, making sacrifices, proving my worth through suffering. I never realized that love isn't about what can buy someone. It's about knowing them well enough to see when they're slipping away. That phone is still in my closet, unopened. A fuss 200 reminder that I loved an idea of Sarah more than I ever loved the real her. Because if I'd truly known her, I would have seen this coming. Instead, I spent my birthday money on a gift for the woman, who was already calling another man her home. The silence in my apartment was deafening. 3 days after Sarah left, I still hadn't told anyone what happened. I called in sick to work, ordered groceries online, and basically became a hermit. But can't hide from the world forever, especially when world is small. My friend Danny was the first to figure it out. He showed Thursday evening with an pizza, grinning like we were about to have the best night ever. Dude, missed an epic weekend. Mike fell in the lake trying to impress that girl from his work. We got it all on video. Where the have been? I let him in because I didn't have the energy to lie anymore. The apartment still smelled like Sarah's vanilla perfume, but her absence was obvious. No shoes by the door, no textbooks scattered on the coffee table, no half-finished art projects taking counter space. Danny noticed immediately. His smile faded as he looked around. Where's Sarah? She's gone. Gone like, visiting her parents gone. Or, gone. She left me for someone else. I said it flat, emotionless like I was reading a grocery list, but Danny's face went through this whole journey. Confusion, then shock, then this look of pity that made me want to punch him. What? When? Dude, what happened? So I told him. The whole pathetic story. The birthday sacrifice, the phone, the restaurant, Marcus, everything. Danny listened without interrupting, which was weird for him. Usually he's got opinions about everything. When I finished, he was quiet for a long time. Then, Jake, man, why didn't just talk to her? What do you mean? I mean, if noticed she was pulling away, why didn't ask her about it? Instead of, no, buying her stuff. The question hit wrong. I was trying to show her I cared. But did ask her what she needed. Like actually ask. I wanted to get angry at him, but I couldn't. Because deep down, I knew he was right. I never asked Sarah what she wanted from me. I just assumed. Assumed she wanted grand gestures. Assumed money equaled love. Assumed she'd stick around while I figured it out. Danny stayed until midnight, but I could tell he was uncomfortable. Like he didn't know how to act around me anymore. Before he left, he said, should call the guys. Let them know what's they're worried about. But I couldn't. How to tell people canceled own birthday party, to buy a gift for someone who was already planning to leave. How to explain that level of stupidity? Word got out anyway. It always does. Mike called Friday, then James, then my sister Emma. Apparently Danny had told Mike, who told James, who told his girlfriend, who told Emma. The phone tree of my humiliation was complete in less than 24 hours. Emma was the worst. She came over Saturday morning with this look on her face, like she was attending a funeral. My funeral. Jake, I'm so sorry. Danny told us what happened. Did he tell the whole story? How I worked into the ground for a woman who was already emotionally checked out. Emma sat down across from me, and I could see her choosing her words carefully. That's when I knew everyone was talking about me. He said saved for months to buy her that phone. What else did he say? She hesitated. He said canceled birthday weekend for her. And that maybe guys had been having problems for a while. There it was. The narrative everyone was building. Poor Jake, working so hard for an ungrateful girlfriend. Poor Jake, sacrificing everything for love. Poor Jake the victim. But I wasn't the victim. I was the who ignored every warning sign because I was too busy playing the martyr. Emma, can I ask something? As a woman. Of course. Boyfriend started acting distant and weird for 2 months. Working all the time, snapping at, avoiding plans with friends. What would think? She looked uncomfortable. I'd think he was pulling away from me. Right. Think he was losing interest. Might even look elsewhere for connection. Jake, don't do this to Bia. Do what? Tell the truth. I created this situation. I pushed her away while thinking I was pulling her closer. Emma left an hour later, but not before trying to convince me to get back out there and show Sarah what she's missing. The advice felt hollow. Show her what she's missing. She wasn't missing anything. She'd found something better. The worst part was social media. Sarah hadn't blocked me yet, so I could see everything. Her posts about new adventures, and following heart. Photos of her and Marcus at coffee shops, art galleries, places I'd never thought to take her. He looked at her the way I thought I did, but didn't. He looked at her like he actually saw her. In one photo, she was laughing at something he'd said. Really laughing, head thrown back, eyes crinkled with joy. I couldn't remember the last time I'd made her laugh like that. I'd been too busy working extra shifts and planning surprises to actually be present with her. Then I saw it, the phone, my phone. The iPhone I'd bled for, sitting on a cafe table between them. She was using it to take pictures of their food, their hands intertwined, they're new together. That's when I lost it, really lost it. I called her, multiple times, left voicemails that started apologetic and ended desperate. Sarah, please, we can work this out. I know I messed, but I'll change, I'll pay attention, I'll be better. She texted back, Jake, please don't do this, it's over. I'm sorry, but calling me won't change anything. I hope can move on. Like 3 years meant nothing, like the apartment we'd shared, the plans we'd made, the future I'd imagined, could just be deleted like a text message. My coworkers found out Monday. Apparently someone from Danny's work knew someone at my warehouse, and the story spread. But it changed in the telling, like a game of telephone. By the time it reached me, I was either a saint who'd been wronged or a fool who'd driven his girlfriend away. Both felt true. Rough break, man, said Tony from shipping. Woman, right? Never appreciate what they got until it's gone. She'll be back, said Maria from HR. They always come back when they realize what they lost. But I knew she wouldn't. Because she hadn't lost anything. She'd found something real with Marcus, something I'd never given her. Attention, presence. Someone who saw her for who she was instead of who I wanted her to be. The phone calls from family kept coming. Mom wanted to drive down from Portland. Dad offered to, talk with Sarah, whatever that meant. My cousin Tyler sent me articles about rebounds and grass is greener syndrome. Everyone had advice, opinions, theories about what went wrong. Nobody asked if maybe I'd been a bad boyfriend. Nobody asked if maybe Sarah had good reasons for leaving. Nobody asked if maybe I'd learned something from this disaster. The truth was, I had learned something. I'd learned that love isn't sacrifice. Love isn't working to prove worth. Love isn't grand gestures designed to purchase loyalty. Love is showing. Love is paying attention. Love is seeing partner as they actually are, not as a character in romantic fantasy. I'd failed at all of it. 2 weeks after Sarah left, I finally opened that iPhone, just to see what first 200 of misguided love looked like. The screen lit, pristine and perfect, asking me to set it, choose a carrier, create an Apple ID, start fresh. I laughed, but it came out broken. Start fresh, if only it were that easy. I boxed it back, and put it in my closet next to all the other evidence of my failure. The dry cleaning receipt for the shirt I'd worn to dinner. The receipt from the restaurant. The birthday weekend camping reservation I'd cancelled, forfeiting my deposit. All the proof I needed that I'd loved the idea of being a good boyfriend more than I'd actually tried to be one. 6 months later, I'm still alone. Not because I haven't tried to date, but because I keep doing the same things that drove Sarah away. Apparently, can't fix a lifetime of bad habits in half a year. Who knew? The real wake call came when I found Sarah's journal. She'd left it behind, wedged between some art books I was finally packing to donate. I shouldn't have read it. I knew that even as I was opening it, but I needed to understand. I needed to know if there were signs I'd missed, clues I could have caught if I'd been paying attention. There were. God, there were so many. Entry from 8 months ago. Jake seems stressed lately. He's working more, sleeping less. I asked if everything was okay, but he just said fine and changed the subject. He'd talk to me about what's bothering him. Sometimes I feel like we're roommates instead of partners. Entry from 6 months ago. Tried to show Jake my new pottery piece today. He glanced at it for maybe 3 seconds before going back to his phone, said looks great, without really seeing it. I spent 2 weeks on that piece. Marcus in my ceramics class spent 20 minutes just studying it, asking about my technique, my inspiration. It felt good to have someone actually see my work. That was the first mention of Marcus. Not romantic, just present. Actually paying attention to her in ways I hadn't for months. Entry from 4 months ago. Jake cancelled our dinner plans again. 3rd time this month. He says work is crazy, but I think he's just avoiding spending time together. We used to talk for hours. Now we barely have real conversations. I find looking forward to ceramics class more than coming home. I remembered those cancelled dinners. I'd been picking extra shifts, telling it was for us, for our future. But reading her words, I realized I'd been running away. From intimacy. From the work of actually being present in a relationship. Entry from 3 months ago. Marcus walked me to my car again today. We talked about everything, art, dreams, fears, family. When's the last time Jake asked me about my dreams? I can't remember. I think I'm falling for Marcus and I for it. But Jake feels like a stranger living in my apartment. The entries got more painful. More detailed about her growing connection with Marcus and her confusion about us. But what destroyed me wasn't reading about her falling for someone else. It was reading about me falling away from her. She tried. God, she tried so hard. Suggesting date nights I'd postpone. Asking about my day when I'd give one-word answers. Showing me her art when I was too distracted by work, money, future plans to really see it. I'd been so focused on being the provider, the grand gesture guy, the one who'd sacrifice anything for love, that I'd forgotten to be her actual boyfriend. The worst part was recognizing the pattern. This wasn't the first time. I started thinking about my ex before Sarah. Rachel. We'd dated for 2 years in college. Broke because she said I was emotionally unavailable and more interested in the idea of a relationship than actually being in one. I thought she was being dramatic. Women, right? Always wanting to talk about feelings. But looking back, I'd done the same thing. Worked extra jobs to pay for expensive birthday presents while missing her actual birthday dinner, because of overtime. Planned surprise trips I couldn't afford while ignoring the fact that she just wanted me to remember her favorite coffee order. And before Rachel, Jessica from high school. Same pattern. Grand romantic gestures, expensive prom plans, working at the mall to buy her jewelry she never asked for. She broke with me for Tommy Chen, who played guitar and actually listened to her talk about her problems with her parents. I'd spent 15 years thinking women just didn't appreciate nice guys, but I wasn't a nice guy. I was a transaction guy. I thought love was a business deal where I provided goods and services in exchange for loyalty and affection. The realization hit me like a truck. I'd never actually been in love. I'd been in love with being in love. In love with the idea of being the perfect boyfriend, the one who sacrificed everything, the tragic hero of my own romantic story. But love isn't about sacrifice. Love is about showing. And I'd never learned how to do that. I tried to date again. Jennifer from the coffee shop near work. Sweet girl, psychology major, actually seemed interested in talking to me. We went out 3 times before she stopped responding to my texts. The third date was when I blew it. She was telling me about her thesis project, something about childhood trauma and resilience. I should have been listening. Should have asked questions. Instead, I was mentally calculating how much dinner cost, and whether I could afford to take her somewhere nicer next time. She caught me checking the bill while she was mid-sentence. Okay? She asked. Yeah, just, sorry, what we're saying about research. But the moment was gone. I could see it in her eyes. The same look Sarah used to get when I'd zone out during her stories about art class. The look that said I wasn't really there. Jennifer made an excuse and left early. Texted me later that she was focusing on school and couldn't date right now. The same gentle rejection every woman learns to give when she realizes the guy across from her sees her as a project, not a person. I stopped trying after that. What was the point? I was 28 years old, and I'd never learned how to actually connect with another human being. How to fix that? How to undo nearly 3 decades of thinking love was something earned instead of something shared? The loneliness got worse. My friends stopped inviting me out after I declined too many times. Work became my entire world again, but this time there was no goal, no woman to save for. Just the mindless repetition of lifting boxes and going home to an empty apartment. I started seeing a therapist, Martinez. She was patient, professional, probably used to dealing with guys like me who thought they were victims of ungrateful women. Tell me about relationship with parents. She said during our 3rd session. What does that have to do with anything? Humor me. So I told her. Dad worked construction, gone most days, exhausted when he was home. Mom worked retail, always stressed about money. They loved each other, I guess, but their love looked like Dad working overtime to buy Mom things she couldn't afford. Mom appreciating the gifts but seeming lonely most of the time. Dr. Martinez said, like I just solved a puzzle. What? Learned that love is work. Literal work. That providing for someone is the same as caring for them. Isn't it? What do you think Sarah needed from that never gave her? I sat with that question for weeks. The answer was obvious, but admitting it felt like admitting I'd my entire adult. Sarah needed me to see her. Actually see her. Not as a goal to achieve or a problem to solve, but as a person with her own thoughts, dreams, fears, and interests. She needed me to be curious about who she was, not just grateful that she was mine. She needed me to show emotionally, not just financially. I found out through Instagram that Sarah and Marcus got engaged last month. She was wearing a simple silver ring, nothing expensive or flashy. The caption read, "Hey, asked while we were making pottery together. No fancy restaurant, no grand gesture, just us and the we're building together. I've never been happier." The photo showed them covered in clay, laughing, completely present with each other. It was beautiful. It was real. It was everything I'd never given her. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even sad really. Just empty. Like I'd spent years building a house with no foundation, and now I was standing in the rubble wondering why I was surprised when it collapsed. That iPhone is still in my closet. I can't bring to sell it or throw it away. It's become a monument to my stupidity. Zender 200 reminder that I spent 3 years with an amazing woman and never once asked her what she actually needed from me. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd spent my birthday weekend with my friends like I planned. Would Sarah and Marcus have still connected? Probably. But maybe, if I'd been present in my relationship instead of absent while planning grand gestures, there would have been something worth fighting for. Instead, I gave her every reason to look elsewhere for connection. I treated her like a transaction instead of a partner. I loved my idea of her more than I ever loved the real her. The hardest part isn't losing Sarah. The hardest part is realizing that I never really had her to begin with. Can't lose something never actually possessed. And can't possess someone by buying them things. Earn their heart by caring about their soul. I learned that lesson 3 months too late, first 200 too expensive, and one broken engagement too painful. Now I'm 28, alone, and finally understanding that love isn't about what willing to sacrifice. It's about what are willing to see.